There's a question that all of us ask ourselves. How do we really know what we want, and how do we go about getting it? We see people like Julia Roberts, Marilyn Monroe, Oprah Winfrey who have it. So how do everyday people get it? It's a big question. Well, here to help us with that question is a life and business coach, Vanessa Horn. Vanessa, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Now, you are a New Mexican, a native New Mexican. You're also an author of I'll Have What She's Having, which is a great title for a book. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, we know it when we see it. That woman who has that quality of lighting up the room and turning heads, and people say, I'll have what she's having. As a life and business coach, over the last 8 years, I've worked with thousands of women to create a life and business they love. And I'll tell you how we don't go about creating that. It's by looking at magazines and turning to things like this that create what I see as the if-only syndrome.
Right. So tell us a little bit about that. What is the if-only syndrome?
The if-only syndrome, the top 5 things I've seen is creating conditions for our happiness. Number 1, if only I were more beautiful, if only I had a better body, if only I had love, if only I had more money, if only I were more successful. The problem is it's creating conditions for us feeling fully fulfilled.
Okay. And so sometimes, I mean, it really, we talk about this a lot, especially around this time of year with resolutions, setting ourselves up to win or setting ourselves up for failure. And so that really if-only syndrome oftentimes can set ourselves up for failure because it's talking about what we don't have instead of what we really want, right?
Absolutely. I like to make it super, super simple. Sometimes we're pursuing so many things. January 1, we go for the gusto.
Right.
I like to ask the question, if this were the last year of your life, what would you do? What would you do? What is so important to you that you need to create it today? And it doesn't have to be a future state. You can create it now.
Right, something that's attainable. Now, speaking of resolutions, a lot of us out there, we make these resolutions, we set out with the best of intentions, and we start wavering for one reason or another. We just get off track on getting on that resolution. So what do you recommend to avoid that wavering and to keep us on track?
I've created a want formula. So W, worthiness. Beginning to create what we want in life comes from believing that we deserve it. So it's not some future state. It's having what I call kind sight, looking at the past, looking at ourselves, looking at other people, letting go of any kind of belief that we have to be a particular way to have what we want. A, act as if. So if you've already accomplished that goal, what would you anticipate that it would feel like? So let's say people have a resolution to lose 10 to 15 pounds. How would you walk, talk, act if you already had lost that, and start acting that way now? Because then you can feel those feelings. Our founding fathers, I beg to differ with them, then they said that we could have the right to the pursuit of happiness. But the reality is pursuit keeps it at bay. If it were our founding mothers, they would have said, girlfriend, let's be happy now, and we can be.
Right,
And N is never compare. According to research, women spend an average of 3.2 hours a day on social media.
Wow,
Psychologically,
really?
the problem is they're comparing the best of everybody else's life to the worst of their life. It puts them in a spectator role versus a creator role. T.
The T. There we are. True.
True, be your true self. The problem is a lot of people have gone about creating a life. What do others expect of me? And it's like wearing a mask. Who do others want me to be? The number one regret expressed by people is, I wish would have lived a life that was true to myself, not what others wanted me to be. And I love what Howard Thurman says. He says, don't ask what the world wants, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world wants are people who are fully alive. And then we'll be that person that turns heads and has people say, I'll have what she's having.
Right. Yeah, so let's talk about that book. Tell us a little bit about what we can learn inside the book.
The book is about how do you become the person you want to be while loving the person you are.
That's great, and I think that that's really important, especially, you know, because you bring up the books like the magazines like Cosmopolitan, that we really set unrealistic expectations for ourselves and not embracing the virtues that we just naturally have.
Absolutely.
Which I think is really important. So thank you so much for coming in, bringing this information. Folks, we're going to have links posted on our website to Vanessa's website, casa.com, under my style blog. So head over there later this afternoon and follow what you're doing, because this is really important information.
Thank you.